Now that you've installed the WinBidPro version 15 software, before you start creating jobs and get real into it, it's good to have an understanding of what the vendor catalogs are really made up of. And to do that, let's go ahead and get into the program. We'll double click there. We'll hit Run Trial. If it's licensed, you won't see this window. So the next thing we'll do is click OK there to log in. And the next thing we should see is the list of vendors. Let's assume you've also installed the vendors you want to be using in the program. So the very first time you start the program, it's a little bit slower, but after that it gets quicker. So it has to kind of cache everything. Now, I've only got one extra vendor installed. The sample metal vendor is included because you always need to have at least a job open when you get into the program. So we've got a different vendor I'm going to pick here, this US Aluminum. And the next thing we'll see is a list of jobs for that vendor. I haven't really created any yet, so there's a sample job. We can go ahead and select that. And then we've got our tips window. It's a good thing to read through, especially if you're new to the program. We'll click OK on that. So now we've got our sample elevation from our sample job, and now all the different menu options are available. All the different drawing tabs here are available and everything. So now that we're in this vendor catalog, that means that we have access to the parts list, the framing systems, the doors, door leaves, door frames, and entrances. So let's explain that a little more. Also the glass table. Now that's, if I click on that, it's a list of glass that we just include, which you can add to or change anytime. And this glass list is there for the entire program, no matter what manufacturer you're using. It's only that one glass list, so keep that in mind. But you can always go in there anytime and edit or change that. Now the framing systems, well, let's actually go to parts list. So the parts list for this manufacturer is kind of the heart of where all the pricing, part numbers, and description of parts comes from. So this is the first key to a vendor catalog, getting all these parts entered, getting all the descriptions and prices set up. And we get updates from manufacturers pretty much annually, and we'll post new catalogs when we do get these updated. So that's something you want to keep in mind for checking our website once in a while to see what's new. And there's a separate training video for going through and changing multipliers for the different types of parts in a vendor's catalog. What you'll normally see is list pricing and a multiplier of 1. So any bid you do or any job you estimate with this setup will give you just list pricing. It won't have any kind of discount for your cost. So watch the multipliers video to figure out how to set your multipliers for any given manufacturer. Now the next thing is the framing systems. Framing systems have already been entered and configured for a given manufacturer, and we try and put the most common systems in here. And we try and also organize them and name them based on the way they're listed in a printed catalog. And you've got some other summary information that helps you sort through and pick a framing system in order to bid a job with it. So you actually are able to add to, change, delete, and in every way edit this information. So keep that in mind, where these framing systems have the part numbers that belong to a certain type of product, and those part numbers have the prices. So anything you see on your printouts is generally coming from how the framing system was configured. So it's important to know how these things are set up and what's inside of them. So there's a whole separate video or two on framing systems alone and how they're configured and how you can change things. Now, moving on to doors. Entrances. Before we look at entrances, let's look at door frames. Door frames, it's very similar to how framing systems are configured. You've got a list of door frames, all the different types, all the different... a door frame has to be compatible with a framing system, so they're kind of named very similar to how framing systems are named. And there's things like the frame width, frame height, the profile. And keep in mind, this is the inside dimension of a door frame. The reason we do that is to match a 3684 door to a frame that it fits in. So it makes it a little easier at a glance to know okay, this is my 3684 door. It's an 1 3/4 profile on the jambs, and it swings right. I'm sorry, it's right hinged. So keep in mind that we list it by hinge, not handing, and we do the offset, the pivot type, and the closure type, and the swing is actually over here. So they're typically outside swinging doors. Now, unless it's a pair of doors, a lot of times they can swing both ways. So, okay, so that's the door frames, and that's something that's configured a lot like a framing system, where you click on a door frame and there's certain parts and settings associated with it. So there's going to be a whole nother video you can watch on how to configure door frames. Now let's go to door leafs. The door leafs, again, very similar. We try and name them so they're recognizable, whether you're looking at a printed catalog or in our list right here. We try and make it very similar. So we've got the size of the doors, which way it's hinged, the pivot type, the style, all the things that make it easy to pick from a list. And you can edit these door leafs and change the part numbers, change hardware. This is where you'd actually add the different hardware inside of one of these systems for a door leaf. So there's a whole nother video that covers that as well. Now once you've got an understanding of door frames and door leafs, an entrance is merely a combination of the two. So you're basically naming an entrance and you're saying, okay, this entrance consists of a specific door frame and a specific door leaf, and that makes up one entrance. And you're not really configuring anything aside from just telling the entrance what door leaf and door frame belongs to it. And then when you actually edit one of these things that's already associated to it, you're going back to the original door frame and door leaf to edit it. So you can add and delete and change any of these entrances as well. And that's something that, each job's a little different, so you can create one ahead of time for a specific job, and then you'll have that entrance that you can apply to all the different elevations. Now, there's a couple other things you want to get a feel for, and one of them is the settings for the drawing window. Now, if I click on settings, there's a bunch of things in here that determine how this drawing is going to print out, how it's being drawn on the screen. Like here's the accuracy of the dimensions and how it's cutting it. So there's a whole nother video that you can watch on configuring your drawing settings. So keep that in mind. Now there's one other setting or place that you should think about for looking at settings. That's the system defaults. This is where you would set your sales tax, any type of surcharge, your markup percentages, saw blade allowance. So we'll do a separate video just for this as well, so this goes into more detail. But that's kind of a key place to look at to help configure your software. So once you get an understanding of all these different things, then you're better equipped to start creating jobs in the program, because you're going to know if something doesn't look right, you'll know what the cause is and you'll know where to go to fix it. Okay.